Hello. So, ayan, sige. Let's go through this conceptual framework for financial reporting. Ito yung um, foundation ng mga standards, no? Ito yung at some point nagiging basis ng mga standards na pag-aaralan natin all throughout our course. So, let's go through the contents. So, as we go along, actually, mapapansin nyo, we already had the materials for this. It's just that we need to we need to understand on a deeper level kung bakit natin kailangan pag-aralan tong conceptual framework, di ba? So, ayan, objective of general purpose financial reporting, we have already the discussion material about this, although this is just the first time na we will discuss this, 'di ba? So, and then chapter 2, qualitative characteristics of useful financial information, we've already discussed that to the material that we had. And then elements of financial statements. And also the recognition and the recognition. Chapter 6, measurement. Chapter 7, presentation disclosure. Chapter 8, concepts of capital and capital maintenance. So, as you can see, it's 86 pages document, and this conceptual framework came from the end published directly by the IFRS. So, it's the International Financial Reporting Standards Council or Board. Let me check. It's the okay. So, let's go through this. So, ano yung purpose of conceptual framework, no? So, ito, we need to understand, 'di ba? Kung ano yung kung bakit natin kailangang pag-aralan tong conceptual framework. Well, theoretically kasi kung iisipin mo, nakaka ang boring naman yan kasi theories, walang katapusan theories. Pero mind you guys, we really need to understand yung basic, which is yung basic concept will always start from the concept. And for us to understand the concept, we need to read kung ano talaga yung sinasabi ng standard. 'Di ba? Hindi kasi pwede tayong kung ano lang yung interpretation natin, kung ano lang yung interpretation ng mga author, kung ano lang yung sinabi ng mga prof natin previously. Tayo, on ourselves, we need to see the actual standard statements para at least sa sarili natin ma-assist natin kung yung mga alam ba natin previously, yung ba talaga yung sinabi ng standards? Or baka meron doon na hindi na updated. So, 'di ba? That's why for me, masasabi ko it's really critical on your stage na maka-encounter or at some on your level makapag-try na makapag-scan nitong mga standard statements na 'to kasi it's very critical, and for you to appreciate yung profession, you have to embrace, you have to understand yung importance nung pinag-aaralan mong theories kasi kung iisipin mo nakakapagod mag-aral ng theories, kakabisaduhin mo whatsoever, pero during my college years, well, nagkabisado ako dun sa mga kailangang kabisaduhin. Like percentages, 'yan, 'di ba? You have to memorize those, lalo na sa tax kasi hindi ka makakapagsagot ng problem kung hindi mo kabisado. Pero these theories na kagaya nito, no, hindi mo kailangang kabisaduhin. Ang kailangan mo is to understand. That's why in our profession, it's very overrated na yung sinasabi nila na magaling sa math, puro math, ganyan-ganyan. No, hindi. And ako, I really prove that wrong. hindi math yung labanan sa profession natin, kundi the way how we think, the way how we analyze things. That's why um as I have remember, there's one student na nagsabi na based dun sa sinabi ng parents niya, I think, or friends niya, na it's very easy for a CPA na makapasok isang sa isang investigating agency in the government. Well, yes. Kasi, 'di ba, when you investigate something, you really need your comprehension to a deeper level wherein you need to understand bakit nangyari, paano nangyari, anong nangyari. So, yung mga ganong skills that's what you obtain year by year so long as you stay sa course nyo. So, kidding aside, so be proud of yourself na you're almost there, gagraduate na kayo. And to prepare yourselves, um, this could be a big help na ma-discuss natin and makapag-focus tayo all throughout our course for review 105 sa standard statements. Okay, so let's go through this. What is the purpose of the conceptual framework? Conceptual framework. Framework from the word itself, it's the body, it's the structure, right? So, from the word itself, andun na actually yung meaning nun eh. Meaning, foundation, di ba? So, as we go through the purpose, okay, let's try to define it first. So, conceptual framework, it describes the objective concepts of general purpose financial reporting. And yung purpose is to assist sino? Yung tatlo. Una, International Accounting Standards Board. Bakit? To develop yung IFRS standards that are based on consistent concepts. Kasi there were a lot of times, di ba, na nagkakaroon ng modification, updates, adoption, and new standards. Pero at some point, kailangan consistent pa rin to dun sa mga standards na naunang i-release. Kasi parang batas, di ba? I mean, kung magre-release ka ng panibagong batas, dapat consistent yan dun sa previous na law na ipinasa. Pero kung dadating yung time na hindi yan consistent or salungat yan kung ano man yung pinanggalingan yan, dapat ma-explain kung bakit kailangan mong ibahin yung nakagawian na. So, that's also how our standards work. So, ayan. Second, the purpose of conceptual framework is to assist the preparers. Para ano? To develop consistent accounting policies. So, ang keyword is yung consistency, di ba? As you can see. When no standard applies to a particular transaction or other events, or when standard allows a choice of accounting policy. And then third, third is to assist also the other parties to understand and interpret the standards. So, actually, ito yung pinaka-foundation din talaga, no? Kasi, sa standard kasi, as you can see, yung IAS 1, IAS 2, so on and so forth, they're very specific na kung ano talaga yung topic na tinutukoy nila. So, at some point, itong conceptual framework, this is what you need to read first before you go through all those specific standard statements kasi they're already defining the specific matters. So, 'di ba? 'Yun kasi yung pinakamagandang technique eh. Bird's eye view and then you will go on a more detail as you go along. So, okay, the conceptual framework is not a standard. Please keep that in mind. Conceptual framework is not a standard. It is the framework, so it is just the foundation. And then, okay, as we have discussed earlier, the board may sometimes specify requirements that depart meaning that will be inconsistent with the conceptual framework. It can really happen kasi mind you, our business world is also adapting to technology and to changes. And so is and so are our standards kasi yung mga financial reporting naman natin based lang din yan sa reports or figures ng mga businesses, 'di ba? Businesses wherein currently operating in a really changing world. So, kailangan mag-adapt ng standards natin to to obtain that kind of quality that we need. Depende kung prepare ba ang gusto nyo sa sarili nyo, prepare ng financial statement. Users is yung mga investor, creditors, di ba? So, okay. Let's go through this na. Chapter 1, the objective of general purpose financial reporting. And this will be a very quick run through. Kindly familiarize yourselves pero I'm not saying na you have to memorize all those things word by word. Kailangan lang at some point maintindihan nyo. So siguro yung technique din, kapag ka naka-bold letter yung paragraph, meaning it's the standard or the IFRS board is emphasizing on that part. It is an important thing. So you might have to give it a time para basahin and to understand at some point. So, okay. Objective of general purpose financial reporting forms the foundation of the conceptual framework. Yes. Excuse, excuse me. So, and then objective, usefulness, and limitations of general purpose financial reporting. So, ayun, as we have discussed earlier, yung sinasabi dito general purpose ng financial reporting. Example, filing ng taxes. It is very, very general kasi it's usual. Pero itong mga decisions involved na as listed here, from buying, selling, or holding equity and debt instrument, ito yung mga hindi naman laging nangyayari sa company. Sobrang bihira. So, special purposes na yan ng financial reporting, providing or settling loans, ganyan. Exercising rights to vote on, yun yung sa mga top-level management. Okay, run through natin yung mga naka-bold letter, no? And yung mga mahalagang item dito. And please do not hesitate to raise your questions if ever na binasa nyo yung standard statements and you want to clarify things or portion. So, okay, information about the reporting entities, economic resources, claims against the entity and changes in resources and claims. So, masyado siyang technical, di ba? As you can see. Pero you don't have to memorize that part. And so, okay. Let's go through this. Chapter 2. Qualitative characteristic of useful financial information. So, let's go through all of these. Okay. Qualitative characteristic. Ito yung mga qualitative characteristic na a financial report or a financial information should have. So, ito, nilista dito, di ba? For a financial information to be useful, ano yung requirement? Dapat it is comparable, verifiable, timely, and understandable. And para maging useful ang isang financial information, dapat it is relevant and it is faithfully represented. So, ayan siguro. Okay. Hindi na natin to titingnan word by word, no? Pero to make you understand, a financial information is useful kung ito ay mahalaga at kung ito ay nai-present um, without any bias. Okay. So, to give you an example, to give you a classic example, di ba? Isa kang investor and then you need to make a decision whether to invest to an IPO company. So, merong company na magkakaroon ng initial public offering and you are one of the top investor that they could even have. So, you need to make a decision whether you will invest your money or not. So, ang kailangan mo as an investor is to see kung kumikita yung company. So, para malaman mo kung kumikita talaga yung company, ang kailangan mo is yung financial report, tama? And then yung financial report na kailangan mo is audited. Doon pumapasok yung faithfully represented. Kasi, kapag ka-audited kasi ang financial report, it is as if the auditor of that financial report or of that financial statement is somehow giving reasonable assurance, hindi man 100%, pero at some point, reasonable assurance na kung ano yung pine-present ng company to, it is true and it is reasonable. So, yun, okay na yun. So, and then the other one is, it should be relevant. Like for example, magde-decide ka to invest, 'di ba, currently. And then the financial information that you have is 10 years ago. So, could you even answer that one? Relevant ba yung financial information that you have? No. Kasi, ang kailangan mo mag-decide is in the future, which is, let's say, next year. So, the latest information or the latest financial information that you need to have is either as of today or the last reporting year, which is December 31, 2020 in this case, tama? So, 'di ba, kung titingnan mo, yan yung qualitative characteristics ng isang useful information for you to decide. So, kailangan mahalaga siya sa decision na gagawin mo. And then the other one is dapat kung ano yung financial information na pinresent sa'yo, walang bias. It's either audited or it is really faithfully represented to you. And then, ito yung mga, the usefulness of financial information is enhanced if it is comparable. Okay. So, sige. Classic example, balik tayo dun sa scenario kanina, no? Ikaw ay isang investor and then, para ma-enhance yung usefulness ng financial information that you have, which is in our example is the financial report, let's say 2020. Financial report December 31, 2020. So, at some point, ikaw as an investor, kailangan comparable siya. So, at some point, you need siguro yung 2019 financial statement para at least makita mo if kamusta ba yung kinita ng company na 'to ng 2020 as compared sa 2019, as compared dun sa 2018. Dun kaya sa 3 years na yun, increasing kaya yung revenue, increasing kaya yung income? Kasi it will help me to decide, eh. So, 'di ba, dun sa part na yun nakita mo yung usefulness ng financial information is nai-enhance if comparable yung financial information. Okay, the other one, whether if it is verifiable. So, as you can see, um, naka-align to or it is in parallel with the faithfully represented, 'di ba? Faithfully represent. So, as you can see kasi, if hindi mo siya mave-verify, if hindi ka comfortable na talaga yung pine-present sa'yo is tama, so would you think useful sa'yo yung financial information? Hindi, 'di ba? Kasi at some point may doubt ka na, eh. Alam mong bias 'to. Yung nag-audit nito or yung nag-prepare nitong report na 'to, is siyempre pagagandahin yung report para ako, mag-invest na lang ako. So, yun. Kung hindi siya audited or kung hindi siya faithfully represented, then may question ka whether it is verifiable or not. So, The other one is it is timely and understandable. So, yun sa timely, napag-usapan naman natin yun, 'di ba? So, yung timing nung report, um, kailangan siya ma-consider kung ano yung klaseng decision you have to make if ikaw yung user. And then it should be understandable. Itong concept ng understandable, hindi lang dapat yung financial information yung understandable, pero it is as if we have the assumption na yung user merong, reasonable knowledge as to the financial information. Kasi at some point, although kahit na na-meet mo yung relevance, faithfully represented nung financial information, comparable, verifiable, and timely, if yung user is hindi naman marunong tumingin ng mga figures or walang walang knowledge sa business or walang knowledge sa wala, as in at all, wala, zero. So, would you think useful sa kanya yung financial information? No, 'di ba? So, kaya as you can see, ayan yung parang mga ingredients for a useful information. So, I guess na-run through na natin yan, no? Okay, let's go. Let's scan this. If magandang mabasa nyo yan pa rin kasi makikita nyo talaga kung consistent yung mga pinag-aralan nyo before, kung paano siya sinabi sa standards, 'di ba? Okay. Okay, sige. Mukhang nakita ko mahalaga ma-discuss 'to, eh, cost-benefit analysis, 'di ba? The cost constraint on useful financial reporting. So, as you can see, ang sabi dito, cost is a pervasive constraint on the information that can be provided by financial reporting. Reporting financial information imposes cost, and it is important that those costs are justified by the benefits of reporting that information. There are several types of costs and benefits to consider. So, for example, okay, so investor ka, tama? And then, the cost of obtaining those reports na you need for you to decide whether you will invest will cost you, let's say, 1 million, 1 million. Pero, yung mabe-benefit mo is only 500,000. So, ikaw as a user, ikaw as a investor, 'di ba, parang isipin mo cost-benefit analysis, parang lugi naman. Gagastos ako ng 1 million para lang makuha yung financial report na mahalaga sa decision ko, whether to invest or not. Pero when I come up with a decision na, "Oh, sige mag-i-invest ako, 500,000 lang yung kikitain ko." So, loss pa ako ng 500, 'wag na lang. So, ayun, yung cost-benefit analysis, it also applies with our lives. So, okay, and then chapter 3, financial statements and the reporting entity. Let's go and run through this. So, financial statements, okay. It provide, okay, as definition, information about economic resources of the reporting entity, claims against the entity, and changes in the resources and claims that meet definitions of the elements of financial statements. Okay, let's go through the objective and scope ng financial statement. The objective of financial statement is to provide what? Financial information. Kaya, yung complete set ng financial statement, as you can see, talagang puro financial information yung nandyan. Hindi lang naman figures. May mga qualitative information din na nandyan na relevant dun sa company na nire-report. So, okay. The information that is provided, ito, statement of financial position. So, ano yan? Recognizing the asset, liability, and equity. Statement of financial performance. Recognizing what? The income and expenses. So, as you can see, 'di ba, hindi na balance sheet yung gamit dito. Hindi na income statement yung gamit dito. So, ni-reward na siya. And kahit 'pag nakakita kayo ng actual financial statements filed sa BAR or sa SEC, wala na kayong makikita halos na balance sheet and income statement or profit or loss. Talagang ito na siya. And then, yung notes, di ba? Mahalaga din tong notes. And then yung other statements, which is yung statement of cash flow, and then ito, cash flow, and then statement of changes in equity. Oh, right. Reporting period. So, this determines the frequency also, di ba? To help the users of the financial statement to identify and assess changes and trends, also provide comparative information for at least one preceding reporting period, at least annually. Okay. As you can see, talagang malalim, no? So, there were times na if talagang gusto mong maintindihan, well, humanap ka ng dictionary and read the standards. Kasi ganyan lang din namin naintindihan yung standards actually. Pero as you go through, actually, maganda 'to, eh, kasi kung ibi-build up niyo paunti-unti yung vocabulary niyo, madadala niyo rin 'yan when you apply for a job. So, okay. Going concern assumption, very basic. Going concern. It is on the assumption that the company will continue in operation for a foreseeable future. Ina-assume natin na yung company is magsu-survive pa. Hindi lang ng 1 taon, hindi lang ng 2 taon, pero as long as it can. So, that's it. The reporting entity. So, okay. So, isa pa 'to. Appropriate boundary of a reporting entity can be difficult if the reporting entity is not a legal entity. Bakit? Kasi in the first place, ang mga financial reports or financial statements ay fina-file sa SEC at sa BIR. If it's not legal, hindi sila makakapag-file kasi makikita sa database ng SEC, makikita sa database ng BIR na hindi registered yung businesses nila. So, anong sense ng financial reports, 'di ba? And then, okay, let's run through this. Nasa page 24 na tayo. Okay, chapter 4. The elements of financial statements. Well, actually, na-discuss nyo na to nung previous subjects nyo before, 'di ba? Pero dito, talagang dinefine din yung breakdown. 5 lang naman yun eh, 'di ba? Yung elements of financial statements based sa Conceptual Framework. So, what are those? Assets, liability, equity, income statement, and expenses. And I hope hindi nyo pa nakakalimutan yung basic equation wherein malayo ang mararating nyo dito. Malayo ang pagdadalhan sa inyo. Asset is equals to liability plus capital or equity. Tama? And then, yung capital or equity is what? Revenue minus expenses and other capital accounts. Tapos, yan yung mga basic eh, di ba? Well, siguro, plus revenue minus expenses. Okay. So, okay, let's go back here. So, ayan. Asset. Ito yung description niya. Kindly familiarize yourself. Kindly revisit if updated pa ba kung ano yung current knowledge that you have. Asset, it is economic resource. Tama naman, di ba? Kapag may asset ka, meron kang resources. Let's say, may pera ka, may resources ka. May receivable ka, may resources ka. Ngayon, liability and equity, claim. Bakit? Pag may utang ka, ibig sabihin, meron silang claim na pwedeng kunin sa'yo. Just they have things. And then, income, expenses, changes in economic resources and claims, which is tama naman. kindly revisit itong mga nandito na description. Maganda tong table na to. You can really refer to this. And then other changes in economic resources and claims. You can also run through this. Definition of an asset. Please have the time to revisit as frequent as you can itong definition ng asset kasi madalas lumalabas sa board din or sa mga questions, sa mga exam questions to na may babaguhin lang na isang word, isang letter, and then boom. Pag hindi mo binasa ng ayos, mali na ang sagot mo. An asset is a present economic resource controlled by the entity as a result of past events. Hindi ka magkakaroon ng asset kung hindi dahil sa isang pangyayari. Example, hindi ka magkakaroon ng pera kung hindi ka kumita. Hindi ka magkakaroon ng pera kung hindi ka binigyan ng parents mo. So, for you to be able to obtain an asset, kailangan meron mo ng pinanggalingan yan. Kasi kung wala, hindi mo siya mako-consider as asset and sobrang impossible naman mangyari yun. For you to have something without even having the reason kung paano mo siya na-obtain. Excuse. And it is an economic resource. And okay. Kapag ka may asset ka, may karapatan ka, may right ka, potential to produce economic benefits. Kindly run through this terms kasi at some point you need to understand all of this. And kindly familiarize yourself kasi as we go along, talagang mabilisan na yung phase natin. Kailangan at some point, nabalikan nyo na tong mga terms na to. Rights. Karapatan, di ba? If meron kang rights, then you have an asset. Okay. So, potential to produce economic benefits, yes. Dahil kung may resources ka, may asset ka, then you may benefit out of it. And then, control. Yes, ito, isa to sa mahalaga. If you have the right, you also have the control. So, if you have an asset, you should have the right, you should have the control. Kasi kung masasabing ikaw ang owner if you have the right and you have the control. Pero kung sinasabi mo na may asset ka pero wala ka namang control, like for example, nasa iyo nga yung pera, pero kaninong pera yan? Sa kapatid mo, siya yung may control dyan kasi pinatago niya lang yan sa'yo. Nasa iyo yung pera, nasa iyo yung custody, pero hindi sa'yo yung pera. So, you don't have the control, therefore, it is not your asset. Okay, definition of a liability, same with how did we discuss the asset, kindly revisit and run through this, okay? So, yung mga terms na yan, no? Underlying definition and key items and key terms. So, ito, obligation. When you have the liability, meron ka obligasyon to fulfill and to serve. And then the transfer of an economic resource. Kailangan kasi if you will settle an obligation, kailangan mo maglabas ng kung ano mang economic resources yung meron ka. And then, present obligation as a result of past events. Same with asset. Hindi ka magkakaroon ng obligasyon without past event that happened. So, for example, nagkaroon ka ng utang. So, bakit ka nagkaroon ng utang? Okay, so maybe some of you will answer in a philosophical way na, syempre, nangutang. Well, oo, pero bakit ka nangutang? Siguro kasi kinailangan ko pambayad ng tuition, ganyan. So, di ba, nakikita mo, ito yung isa sa requirement eh. Hindi ka magkakaroon ng obligation if hindi dahil sa isang bagay na nangyari in the past. And then, okay, so asset and liabilities. Masyadong technical na rin ata yan. Executory contracts. Okay, you just have to familiarize yourself if ano yung executory contract. Substance of contractual rights and contractual obligations. Definition of equity. Kindly familiarize yourselves. Mhm. And then definition and income and expenses. Again, kindly familiarize yourselves also. And as we go through this definition, chapter 5, so recognition and the recognition, it is also something that you need to revisit. Kailan ka nagre-recognize? And what is recognition? It is the process of capturing for inclusion. Ibig sabihin, na-recognize mo. So, isasama mo. When you recognize for something, ibig sabihin, pinansin mo, isinama mo. In statement of financial position or statement of financial performance, an item na pumasok dun sa definition ng asset, liability, equity, income, or expenses. And then, the recognition, syempre kabaliktaran lang yan, exclusion, di ba? So, yung pagtatanggal mo na isang financial information sa isang financial report. Okay. Eto maganda 'to, kindly revisit this. Also, oo, pero ano lang din 'to, base lang din 'to sa basic accounting equation. Recognition criteria, okay. Mhm. Recognition criteria, kailan ka nagre-recognize? So yan, kindly revisit yourselves. Relevance, existence, uncertainty, low probability of an inflow, faithful representation, measurement, uncertainty, other factors, the recognition, again, removal, di ba? Dine-recognize mo, ibig sabihin tinanggal mo. Again, the reason kung bakit natin kailangang i-run through yung mga sarili natin with these terms kasi when we go to the problem solving, marami na kayong may encounter na mga words na dapat pag nabasa nyo, hindi nyo na kailangan magtagal para isipin kung ano ibig sabihin nun. So, kindly familiarize yourselves with the standard statements. Pag may extra time kayo, basa-basa lang. And then, let's go to chapter 6. It's measurement. So, measurement basis, historical cost, current value. Okay, ito is more on mga ano na to, definition. Historical cost. Ito yung by default na na measurement basis of presenting the financial information. From the price of the transaction that gave rise to them. Historical cost. Current value. What is current value? At the measurement date. Current, meaning kung kailan mo siya mini-measure. Measurement date. Fair value. Between market participants at the measurement date. Pero on this case kasi, it is already on the phase we're already talking the price to sell or to pay. Value in use and fulfillment value. Kindly revisit the terms. I assume na encounter nyo na yung value in use. Current cost, okay, kindly familiarize yourselves. Information provided by the particular measurement basis. And then historical cost, again. Current value, and then current cost. Okay, summary of information provided by the particular measurement basis. So, kindly revisit lang din to. Not necessarily na talagang sobrang kabisaduhin nyo. Just familiarize yourselves. So, carrying amount, you've encountered this already. And then, sa liabilities, meron ding table. Kindly revisit yourselves. Factors to consider when selecting a measurement basis, medyo technical na yan as to the preparers or users. Relevance, characteristic of asset or liability. Faithful representation, and then enhancing. So, historical current, and factors specific to initial measurement. Ano pa ba? More than one measurement basis. Cash flow-based measurement techniques. Okay. So, chapter 7, presentation and disclosure. I don't know if ito na yung last na chapter. So, okay. Classification ng assets and liabilities of setting. Classification of equity. Classification of income expenses, profit or loss and other comprehensive income. Aggregation. Kindly familiarize with yourselves. Chapter 8, okay. Concepts of capital and capital maintenance. So, it is a matter of definition lang din. So, kindly familiarize yourselves. And then, ayan. So, eto, sa appendix, yung defined terms, you may use them for your reference and for our common reference para ma-revisit nyo yung mga terms. Para pag na-encounter nyo as we go along our course and our discussion, hindi na siya alien term sa inyo. So, I guess ayun lang. If ever you have questions, kindly message your questions na lang and queries dun sa group chat. And so, ayun. Thank you.